Hello and welcome to Astrology and Magic. My name is Valkyria Vardar, Valkyrie of the Veil. I am the one who's telling you about all the astrological things in this podcast, so welcome. Today we're going to be looking at the end of December and the astrology for the end of December because there's a lot of things happening for the end of December. People keep asking me about 2024 in their personal readings, and I keep getting questions about what about the year ahead? And I honestly have not been able to even think about what is happening until after we get through the end of December because of how dense these transits are going to be. We have several things going from retrograde to direct. We have Mercury entering and going direct from retrograde. So there's a couple things going on. So I want to walk us through. Let us go through together. Let us see what is coming up. I'm recording this December 9th. So we're going from now until January 1st because January 1st is when Mercury goes direct. So spoiler alert, that's where we're going to end the podcast today. So let's go ahead. Let's start with the new moon in Sagittarius. We have our new moon in Sagittarius on December 12th. Now, what's been happening with these moon cycles? We had the new moon Libra solar eclipse on October 14th. A wild ride. I don't know about you, but I know what happened for me, and that eclipse really switched a lot of things. If you have been following me on TikTok, you know that I've been talking about the eclipses pretty much nonstop for a while, especially in my live streams. So I'm going to brush up here just momentarily about that so that people who are unfamiliar with what's been happening have the know-how and the what's up. So the eclipses, these lunar nodes, the eclipses are ruled by the lunar nodes, and the lunar nodes that we are under right now, or in right now, we have the north node in Aries, and we have the south node in Libra. Now, those placements, Aries is ruled by Mars, and our south node in Libra is ruled by Venus. Our previous lunar nodes was Taurus in the north node and Scorpio in the south node. Now, what are the planetary rulers of those? Scorpio is ruled by Pluto and Mars, important to note that, and Taurus is ruled by, take a guess, if you guess Venus, then you would be correct. So we have this. Is the only time this happens in the lunar node transitions, where we go from a north node, Taurus, ruled by Venus, to then a north node ruled by Mars, and the south node is then ruled from Mars to Venus. So we do a complete 180, a complete flip with the planetary rulers. Instead of having Mars rule the south node, now Mars is ruling the north node. Instead of Venus ruling the north node, Venus is ruling the south node. So this transition of the lunar nodes is really, really intense for basically every single person because we're all under these influences. I know for me, as someone who has very heavy Libra and Scorpio placements in my chart, they have been getting me pretty intensely this eclipse season, and the transition from the previous season that we were in, pretty drastic, pretty fantastic transition. I'm grateful I am where I am, and also it's been pretty drastic. So that Libra new moon, so that's the brush up of what's up, returning to that Libra new moon solar eclipse, that really births us into this new cycle. We're doing something new. We're doing something completely different. We've grown. We've changed. We went through the death season with that south node in Scorpio, and now it's time for justice. You heard that correctly. Now it's time for justice. South node in Libra is all about justice. So sometimes justice asks us to really take accountability for who we are and why we are and where we are, what we've done. And also, if you've done that and you are someone who keeps an order of justice for you, then justice is coming through to make sure that you get what is due. That's just what it is. So that's the Libra in the south node. If you have a house ruled by Libra, most people do. If you have a house ruled by Libra, then that is going to be really what this season for the next year and a half with these nodes. These lunar nodes are going to be for you. If you have any planetary placements or placements ruled by Libra, that's also going to be influenced by this new birth. So if you have Libra placements in your chart, you've probably been feeling this like rush of new energy. You're doing new things. You see a new version of yourself possibly in those placements, and there may be new things coming in, especially because of all of the Venus in Libra removal work that's been happening for the previous couple of months with the Venus retrograde, the new moon in Libra, and then we had Venus enter Libra recently. So we've started to receive the good efforts of the work that we've been putting in, which I'm very grateful for, because I know that removal season was removal's not always an easy thing, so if you've been going through that, may you be greeted with what you need in love. May you receive what you need in love. That's how I feel about that situation. The previous new moon, so we have this birth in Libra, the Libra new moon eclipse. We have this new birth, a new chapter. The full moon is a little bit different story. The full moon eclipse has us really looking at what still needs to be tied up, because yes, the eclipse is ruled by Aries, but the full moon is in Taurus for that on October 28th. So we're looking into the past here so that we can look a little bit into the future when we get to the end of December, just to like brush up on the moon cycles here. Because what's happening right now from that eclipse season to the eclipses that we're having in March and April is like we're having all these new births come in. We're having these new things, this new story. We're walking in a new version of ourselves. And at the same time, we're having to still tie up some of these old things that have been happening over the previous couple of years and like get rid of some things, make sure that we close the door completely and totally and finally. And that was ruled and is ruled from like in the middle of these eclipse seasons from October into that March, April time. That part is ruled by the Taurus. So if you've got Taurus energy in your chart where your house is and your placements, know that that is what is going to be being wrapped up. My Taurus, I'm really grateful where my Taurus is at. I don't have any Taurus placements, but the house, I'm very ready to be out of this. I'm feeling a little antsy, to be honest with you. I'm feeling a little antsy, little dancy. I would love to be at the next eclipse season, but I also know that there's a lot of things that need to get done before that story is possible to walk in. So have some patience. Taurus is a slow moving energy. But that's what's happening with the eclipses. So we're still under that influence up until March and April when the new eclipses come through. So to get back into the moon cycle, so we have this new birth. Lots of background information. Thanks for sticking with me. We have this new birth in the Libra new moon solar eclipse. And then we have the new moon in Scorpio in November. And this new moon in Scorpio was the first new moon in Scorpio that we have had for a couple of years that has not been ruled by those lunar nodes. So for a lot of people, this new moon in Scorpio that we just had was probably really intense. Right now, as I'm filming this or recording this, we are still under the influence of that moon cycle. So you could still be finding, actually, I think the moon, let me double check. I'm pretty sure the moon right now is in Scorpio. Is that true? It is. Yes. So the moon right now is in Scorpio. It will be in Scorpio until December 11th. Yeah, until December 11th. So we've got a couple days here with the moon stationed in Scorpio. Almost said Virgo. Not true. In Scorpio, until we get that moon in Sagittarius for the full moon, or the new moon, coming up. That new moon in Scorpio season, this cycle that we've been in, has really been a way to honor and revere what has been done. What cycle did you just close out? It's been this like really, really big, impactful moment of like, wow, we are done. We're done. All those things that we've been through, all the things that have happened to us, all that death, all that transformation, all of the drastic change, all of the mysticism, all the things that needed rearrange, all of the new life and the new birth, everything that we've been through that has made us transform, that has really forced us to process the deeper, darker things about ourselves, which is not always a fun place to be. This previous cycle, because of the new moon in Scorpio and the moon cycle that we're still in, because of that new moon in Scorpio, we've been able to really have the perspective of like, it's over now. it's over now. So whatever it is that you've been going through for the previous couple of years, I really hope that you have been having that perspective come through. I know that that is what has been given to me through this moon cycle, and I'm very grateful for that, because I know for the previous couple of years, life has been hitting me and hitting me over and over and over again until I was able to stand up and hit back. So and that's Scorpio. You know what? You got to use your stinger or you get stung. So that's what that is. Now moving into I laugh, but that's real serious. That fighting energy, that Mars energy of Scorpio is it's no joke. It's real serious. Use your stinger, you get stung. And there's venom in that too. I feel like that might be a story for another time though. So we'll leave it there. We do have Venus in Scorpio right now though. So we're still kind of under that influence of that Scorpio energy with the Venus. And that's one of the things that's happening in December, is that Venus goes into Sagittarius. So we do have that change coming up. Venus and Scorpio is going to be an interesting transit, I think, because it has been so far, because it's very much like secrets being revealed, things that have been held onto for maybe too long, or like there's like truths coming through, very intimate secret truths are coming through. You could find yourself in opposition to lovers or people who do not love you. It really depends on how you receive that. Venus Scorpios are very much about receiving the deep, dark depths, and they sit with it and they understand the length of what they've been given and the strength of what they've been given before they really decide to do anything with it. So you could find yourself more patient at this time. And when you find yourself rushing, you may find yourself getting into a little bit of trouble. So, if you want to avoid trouble when it comes to the receiving and the giving, because that's what Venus is very much about reception and what you do with it once you receive, then be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself, sit with your feelings, understand the depth of it, really look at the layers of it, look at the darkness of it, look at people's truth in it. Scorpio is very much a truth placement. So look at the truth in it, and that will be helpful for that Venus and Scorpio energy, because again, Scorpio energy, pretty intense. So we have the new moon in Sagittarius coming up. It's on December 12th. I'm excited for this because we have the birth in the Libra new moon. We have the, wow, it's really done. It's really done. Let us go have some fun. It's really done for the new moon in Scorpio. This new moon in Sagittarius is going to really set us up for, what's our purpose now? Yeah, the story's done. The old story's done. What's our purpose now? We're different people. We've changed. I know I've changed. I've been looking in the mirror recently and catching glimpses of my reflection, and I'm like, wow, I look like a different person. Look like I love myself again. That's wild. And I'm just like looking at myself and realizing like, wow, I really am different. So we have changed. We've seen our transformation. So what's our purpose? What are we doing now? What is it that we're focused on? What is it that we're leading ourselves into? The new moon in Sagittarius is really going to, especially after having gone through the majority of Sagittarius season before this new moon comes in, we've had some time to really consider what our purpose is, where we're going, why we want to be there, why we're doing what we're doing. You may have changed your decision on what it is you're doing in this new season, in this new era, because you realize your purpose is different. Your why is different than maybe you thought, or maybe your why didn't support the direction you were going, so you changed direction. With the new moon in Sagittarius, having had all this time in Sagittarius season to really sit with our whys and our understanding of self, we've been able to have that understanding in the depth. And now with the new moon in Sagittarius, okay, what's our purpose for this new season and this new chapter? Where are we going and why are we doing it? Who are we with and why are we with them? What is the career that we want and why do we want it? Do you want to work on a bigger bag, and why? Sagittarius new moon is going to ask you why. Why? You want these things? Sure. The old story's done? Yeah. Why? Why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing? Sagittarius new moon, it wants to know. So understand that there's probably going to be a lot of fiery passion of understanding why around that day, December 12th. Especially after these deaths, these watery, I feel like a lot of this previous cycle, this new moon in Scorpio, this previous cycle has been a lot of grief and understanding, because this moon cycle, the moon cycles are ruled by the new moon. So this moon cycle is ruled by water, but this next moon cycle is going to be ruled by fire. And I think that it's very good timing. In my opinion, it's very good timing that we have this new moon in Sagittarius on the 12th. When does the sun enter Capricorn. The sun enters Capricorn 10 days after, so on December 22nd, 10 days after this new moon. So we have a moon cycle that's ruled by Sagittarius, the fire sign, as we go into Capricorn season. And with the Capricorn energy, we're going to get there in a minute about Capricorn season and like what is happening with Capricorn right now, the Capricorn placements. But with that energy that's been happening, I feel like this is pretty good. I feel like it's pretty good that we are moving in to Capricorn season with that fire, because sometimes that Capricorn energy can really like drag you down. Sometimes Capricorn's heavy. It's heavy, it's gravitational. So sometimes you really got to work to pick it up. But I feel like with this new moon in Sagittarius leading us into Capricorn season, I think it's going to be pretty good. I think we're going to have a pretty good time. And I also am seeing for the Cancer full moon on the 26th, 27th, 28th-ish. I really feel like this is going to be like a moon cycle of relief. I really, really feel that if you are someone who is willing to do the work and you sit with the planetary energies and you really understand yourself and you're doing what you need to do, then if you have been doing what you need to do, then the good things are starting to come through for the people who have been doing what they need to do. And on top of that, we have this cycle of the full moon in Cancer when it comes through. I just feel like the relief, like we have this fiery purpose, new moon. What's our purpose? Oh, we know our purpose now. Okay, well, let's make a home in it. That's the Cancer full moon. Let's make a home in it. We have our purpose. Let's make a home in it. So I have a really good feeling about that. So that's December 12th. December 13th, see, and this is, once I really get into it, because we just started. I know I had to give some background information, but on December 13th, once we get into it, the transits this month, at the end of this month, are so dense. There's so many things happening. So December 13th, we have Mercury starts to retrograde in Capricorn. So we have a new moon, and then immediately we have a Mercury retrograde. They happen within 24 hours of each other. Mercury retrograding in Capricorn is going to be very, very interesting. Pay attention to the details of your words. Pay attention to what it is you are speaking. When it comes to the details are going to be so important with Mercury and Capricorn, especially with this retrograde, because if you are speaking on things when it comes to the details before we get to Mercury retrograde, okay, so we're not in Mercury retrograde yet. We have a couple days still, 4 days. It's December 9th, so 4 days. Pay attention for yourself, for your sanity. Pay attention to the details. Slow down in your communication. Mercury Capricorn is very dense communication. There's a lot of layers to it. There's a lot of things that are unsaid that can still be read, So, read between the lines when you need to. Read the deeper layers of people and the communication and the conversations when you need to. Mercury retrogrades are also a time that things can come to ground if you're like someone who works with manifestation work and the weavings of the retrogrades, because what happens when all the planets are direct is like if you're really up and doing your work and you're staying in the energy that you need to stay in and doing what you need to do, especially with Mercury and Capricorn, it's like the heavy, dense energy. It also has to do with wealth and like the acquiring of physical things. It's kind of materialistic in that sense. So if you are... That's true. It's not just materialistic. It's material. It's the gravity of material. It's the layers of material. Capricorn energy. The more that I am learning about Saturn and Capricorn, the more I really love it. It's taken me some time, but I really, really do. I really love Capricorn and Saturn energy. So just pay attention to the details. Pay attention to the details. If you're signing contracts during Mercury and Capricorn, super, super duper, pay attention to the details and the fine prints of things because it's Capricorn's detail oriented, and we're going to be the planet of communication in retrograde. So what I was saying about manifestation, let's go back to that. What I was saying about manifestation is that during the retrograde periods, this is really for any of the planetary placements. When you are experiencing a retrograde, if you've been doing what you need to do, it's a time that good things can come through for you. A lot of people experience retrogrades where there's like chaos and mayhem because there has been maybe some decisions that have not been super good when the planets have been direct. And so the retrogrades have you go back and they further inspect, like introspect, further inspect. But if you are someone who like really keeps up on yourself and has a really good protection regimen and you've been like really focused, then when retrogrades happen, it's a time where things can be consecrated, where things can ground, where things can come back around for you. And actually you're like, oh, now I can receive it. Retrogrades can be, that's true. That's the word. Retrogrades can be a time of receiving when it comes to your wishes and your wants and your fulfillments. So pay attention also to like the different details that are around you in communication. It could be like you overhear something on accident when you're like out getting coffee with someone. You hear the people next to you talking about something that you have been wanting to talk about or something that's going on in your world. Like that's also a detail of communication because Capricorn also has to do with our environments. So pay attention to and like the systems of our environments. So pay attention to the communication that's happening around you when it comes to you being in different environments and what those environments might represent for you. It's very environmentally focused, not necessarily like save the planet, even though, you know, that's where I'm at with things, but environmentally focused as in like the systems of the environments and how do the environments work and why are you there, in the sense of like symbolic representation, because the symbolism in Capricorn is very, very literal. It's very literal. So look at the details of what's being spoken in the environments, what those environments mean for you. There could be some very like literal communications in the sense of like when spirit is speaking to you or your spirits are speaking to you, things are going to be communicated. They're not going to be so like, oh, I wonder what that means, or like you have to sit with it more. So it's going to be very easy to receive communication from the spirit realms when Mercury is in Capricorn. At least it is for me, because things are just like, they're so precise and they're direct, and you don't really have like, there's other layers to it, but it's not like 3 + 3 = 6 and wow, 6 means this for me. No, Capricorn and Mercury is very much like, oh, there's words that I'm receiving and they're very literal, or there's like a literal, like you're thinking to yourself like, oh, I wonder if I am in this cycle for a good reason, or you know, something. You roll up on a stop sign and it's like, oh, well, clearly that's put there. Like it's a very obvious sign, you know? So, yeah, not that you receive a stop sign. Maybe there's good signs. Maybe it's a all green lights kind of drive. You know what I mean? So those kinds of things, when it comes to like literal symbolism in your physical environment, and the way that is speaking to you is also going to be a key thing with this Mercury in Capricorn placement. Mercury retrograde is going to be looking back on different symbols possibly that have come through to you, different there also could be the chance for like miscommunications. That's Mercury retrograde, any retrograde, there's the chance for miscommunications. If you're not speaking very literally and slowing down with your words, there's an even further chance for miscommunications. So just be very, very literal about what you're speaking, be direct with what you're speaking, and hopefully you'll be able to avoid any like miscommunications or issues with those things. I know one of the ways that this Mercury retrograde has been, the shadow period of it has been kind of like checking me. We're not in the retrograde yet, but it's been checking me as like stuff on my website, because that's a system. That's technically a system, you know, and it's an environmental system. Granted, it's on the internet, but it's still an environmental system. So that's an example of, you know, a different kind of like circumstance. What else do we have happening? So that's that's December 13th. So December 12th, new moon. December 13th, Mercury starts its retrograde in Capricorn. December 20th, so we have a week of just like handling that energy and being chill with things. December 20th is when things kind of start to pick up. Things get a little bit denser because Pluto enters 29 degrees in Capricorn. And ding, 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 you would be correct if you remember that Mercury is retrograding in Capricorn. So we have this kind of really serious destruction energy with Pluto, the death and the transformation energy going into a serious degree. The 29th degree is the critical degree. And on most people, like on most astrologers' lists of things that are happening that are important, I don't know that you would find this on like a website or something, but I think that critical degrees and transits are super duper, super duper D. I think that they're super important, because that's when things get really serious, because the 29th degree is like, oh, things are ending now. Things are ending and we're about to move on to something new. So we've got to finish what we're doing. We have to finish it. We have to finish it now. 29th I look at the degree as sometimes like a lifespan. Also, it's like the entire life of that sign or that transit. And so when you get to the 29th degree, it's like you're at the end of life. What happens when people get to the end of their lives? If there's someone who is like has the time and availability and capability to do so, you're wrapping up your will. You're making sure that your inheritances are going to the people that you want them to. You're allocating things. You're saying your goodbyes. Like it's a very, very serious time of life. And the fact that we have the planet of death going into the degree of death, the 29th degree, is going to be, it doesn't move out of that degree until January. So that transit, the end of that transit is not included in this podcast for today. And also just really pay attention when it comes to anything that has been ending in the material, physical world, because things are about to get serious. It could be that there's different material possessions that you have been needing to, that you need to get rid of it so that you can have something new, or that you need to move on from something. That you need to have a transformation within your physical world or within the systems that you exist in. It could be a job. Depending on your Capricorn placements, this is going to look different for different people. The house that is ruled by Capricorn for you is going to show you really what season is this critical degree of Pluto affecting, and where the destruction and transformation is going to be happening in your life. If you have placements that are in Capricorn, then they are also going to be under the influence of this very critical, very serious ending death degree of the Pluto placement in Capricorn right now. When it comes to the Mercury retrograde in Capricorn and this Pluto with the serious death degree in Capricorn, there's a lot of damage that words can do and communication can do once Pluto goes into this serious degree. So and that's why I say again, I said it earlier, I'm gonna say it again, be very specific, be very, very detailed with what it is that you are speaking, because Mercury and Capricorn, your words carry weight. They have gravity. People are taking things more seriously already, and we're having Pluto go into the death degree in the same sign as this Mercury retrograde. So if you do not feel like you are ready to speak on something, if you feel like you do not want to speak on something, then don't do it. Just don't do it. Keep your words to yourself if you really feel like you need to, because especially and don't speak things over yourself that you don't want to see come to fruition. That is the other thing to be very specific with the transit. Wow, this got so serious, but you know what? I'm here for it. I feel like sometimes things in the planets happen and they're serious. The death degree, the 29th degree, death is a serious thing. It's serious, okay? So I honor it. I revere it. And this is why I said it earlier in the podcast too. This is why I say I'm so ready to be out of this, the eclipses. I'm so ready to be in the next eclipses, because we're still tying up the death ends of that Scorpio Taurus lunar node cycle. And this Pluto entering the 29th degree in Capricorn with the Mercury retrograde, we're definitely going to be feeling it. I'm feeling it. We're going to be feeling it. So just be so specific. If you're not ready to do something, don't talk about it. If you're not ready to end something and you're just thinking about it, don't talk about it. Keep your words to yourself. If you really feel like you need to, don't, because people are really going, if you speak on things in this cycle, people are going to take it to heart. They're going to sit with it, and Capricorn again is about gravity. It's going to have more gravitational weight with them. So keep your words to yourself. If you don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it. Walk about it. Walk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it. Now is the time to walk about it. Be in the action. If we're going to speak literally, be in the action of it. That's what I mean by walk about it. And that's a great example of being more literal with your words. I'm grateful for the example that did come through. Thank you, the highest spirit, for having me speak on that. So that's December 20th. December 22nd, Sun enters Capricorn. So here we go. We're getting into the serious Capricorn energy. We're already in it. We're headed into more serious Capricorn energy. The thing about the Sun entering Capricorn on December 22nd is that Mercury retrograde is then conjunct with the Sun in Capricorn. This Mercury retrograde is going to be so serious. It's going to be so serious. So for serious, so for real. It is conjunct with the Sun. So there's probably going to be a lot of things illuminated about the words that you've been speaking. And when I was talking about the gravitational pull of your words, and keep your words to yourself if you don't want to talk about things, because I I know. I saw it at the beginning of Mercury in Capricorn. I saw it at the very beginning of that degree. If you are speaking on things that you are not ready to talk about, like, really consider your words before you talk about it. Really consider your words before you talk about it, because we're headed back into Sagittarius with this Mercury retrograde. So when the sun enters Capricorn on December 22nd, we also have Mercury retrograde conjunct with the sun, and it's moving backwards into Sagittarius at the same time. So there's probably going to be some things that are illuminated when it comes to that gravitational pull, the things that we've been talking about, possible things that Mercury in Capricorn, sometimes it's like, you may say something and then immediately regret it, is something that I've been noticing. So that's why I say keep your words to yourself if you feel like you need to. The fact that we have this conjunction, the sun moving in the opposite direction of Mercury and they're crossing over each other, it's like a see you later. It's like a see you later. The sun's like, oh, we're going to keep going. We're going into the Saturn energy. See you soon. The sun is more like that girly pop energy where it's like, I'll see you there, see you there, see you there. But then that Mercury retrograde going back into Sagittarius is going to be like, the friend dynamic where one friend is like super love and light and super happy, and then the other friend is like the one who's like super existential and like really thinking about things really deeply all the time. That's what's happening. That's what's happening with the sun when it enters Capricorn and Mercury retrograde entering Sagittarius. When they're conjunct, that really happy-go-lucky person who is, just they're happy, they're doing what they need to do. When that enters Capricorn, it's like, okay, now it's money season. Now it's time to get the bag. Now it's time to don't drag your feet. It's Capricorn season. If you've been doing the work, now is the season where your work's going to pay off. Things are going to come through for you in the material of it. That's what Capricorn season is. And I'm very excited for Capricorn season. So, thank you, Capricorn, and thank you, Saturn. Love you. That Mercury retrograde, though, is going to be the one where it's like, the existentialness. We're still going backwards. We're still thinking about things, because when Mercury enters Sagittarius, we're going to again be speaking with purpose and thinking about purpose. So when Mercury goes back into Sagittarius, there's going to be this energy of like, did we say what we really wanted to say? Why were we saying what we said? Why were we saying what we said? Why were we saying the things that we were saying? Were we saying them with a purpose? If we weren't saying them with a purpose, why were we talking about them at all? And if we were talking about them with a purpose, what was our purpose? Why were we talking about it? And why are we talking to who we're talking to? And why are we saying what we're saying? And if you can really tap into what you want to convey and the purpose thereof, your words are gonna cut through. They're gonna hit their mark. It's gonna be easy, because then come January 1st, Mercury goes direct in Sagittarius, and so we're like moving backwards with our words and reconsidering a bunch of purpose for the end of December. But then come the beginning, it's like, oh, we've remembered why we're saying what we're saying. Okay, now let's go get it. Let's go do our thing. Let's go do what we need to do. So just understand that there's going to be a lot of like existentialism, to be for real with you, at the end of December. The next thing that happens, December 26th. So if you celebrate Christmas, it's the day after Christmas. Also, yeah, that's true. And the winter solstice is in there. In between the Pluto enters, that's the December 20th. Let's get it straight. Words, see, slowing down. December 20th, Pluto enters 29 degrees in Capricorn, and then we have the winter solstice on the 21st, or the solstice, depending, it could be the summer solstice, depending on what, where you are on the planet. So, to your discretion and advisement of your personal placement. And then on December 22nd, that's when the sun enters Capricorn and Mercury goes retrograde. So, again, money season, let it come in, December 26th, Chiron goes direct in Aries, which I'm so excited about. This, honestly, we have all this existentialism. We have all these very serious things happening. And then we have the Chiron. And this is why I said it earlier, that the full moon in Cancer is going to be very much like a day of relief. There's going to be relief on that day. And I just have a feeling that it's either going to be like lock yourself in your room and isolate and be by yourself, or it's going to be a day where you're like, this is exactly what I needed. It's going to be a day of, this is exactly what I needed, because Chiron goes direct in Aries. So we're no longer, when Chiron is retrograde, we're looking at ancestral traumas. not always super fun. I love the ancestors of love, and I also know that I have inherited some things a lot of us have that we would rather not sit with all the time, you know? And when Chiron is retrograde, that's what we're doing. Whether we really realize it or not, we're influenced by the ancestors because we are an ancestor. We have a body. We come from the ancestors. And so when Chiron is retrograde, we're looking at the ancestral traumas, the ancestral triggers. Could be things that come up with like your parents and your parent, like child dynamic. Plus it's in Aries, so it's like really about the youth. Really about the youth, really about you and like you as a baby, you as a child, you as a fresh being in the world. What were the things that really like traumatized you from the ancestors? Chiron retrograde has not been, it's been in the background. It's a minor placement, but it still has not been super duper kind to us. I feel like super duper is my words of the day. I've said that so many times. Yeah, it's not been super kind to us. So when it goes direct, we're going to be able to take all the lessons that we've learned from this Chiron in Aries moment and really be like, wow, I am a better person for it. Wow, I can have my new beginning. Wow, I am worth all these things. And you know what? Aries also is the energy of just moving forward, just moving forward without really thinking about it, because Aries is ruled by Mars. And so Aries being ruled by Mars is very much just like, do it and don't think about it first. It's just like you do it and you deal with the consequences later. Mars and Scorpio is a little bit different because it's like think about all the consequences and then do it in longevity. Mars and Aries is like, no, we're going to do it now. We're going to deal with the consequences later. So Mars changes depending on the placement. But Mars and Aries with that Chiron placement, we've been having to go look at all of the consequences of what it is that we have been doing or things that have been done to us. And we've been dealing with the consequences, healing the consequences. So I'm very excited for Chiron to go direct because I am done trying to further inspect. Thank you very much. I would like that relief. I would like to be finished with that lesson and no more grief, let us be through. And so that is what is happening with Chiron going direct. It's also the same day as the Cancer full moon. So there's going to be illumination on making a home in our purpose again, with that moon cycle being ruled by Sagittarius with the new moon. So December 26th is going to be good. Like there's all these like very serious existential things happening. And then we have December 26th come through and it's like, oh, actually, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let's have a day of just like sitting in our good feelings and like appreciating what we've done for ourselves up to thus far. Good for you. Enjoy that day. Do what you need to do. If you need to rest, do that. If you need to apply pressure, do that. Feel through it. You know yourself better than pretty much anybody else. So with what you are doing in your life and what you're working on, because again, it's Capricorn season. So, get the bag when you need to, apply the pressure, and stay consistent. That's very much Capricorn. And at the same time, Cancer full moon, make a home in your purpose, which sometimes can look like action and sometimes can look like rest. Just don't be stressed. That's what that moon is really going to ask us. Just don't be stressed, especially with Chiron going direct. Don't be stressed. Just be. Just be. It'll be a day to just be, which I'm happy about that. We also have December 27th, another kind of like minor but important thing that's happening is Mercury retrograde conjuncts Mars in Sagittarius. This is going to be interesting because on a personal level, the Mercury retrograde, again, like we're looking at purpose. Why are we saying what we're saying? And for that to go and be with Mars the day after Chiron goes direct in Aries, we're no longer going to be hurt by purpose. Hello. Thank you. I'm grateful for that. So pay attention to what purposes maybe are you reconsidering. And also, I feel like this is going to be a day of like realizing that either you were in the wrong in situations or you were the strong one in the situation. It's going to be a day of reclaiming strength and or taking accountability for things. I know for me personally, with the placements I have and what I've been through, that more than likely it's going to be a day of reclaiming strength and in taking, let's sit with perspective here for a minute, because I love you perspective. When you take accountability and you sit in accountability, that means that you're sitting in your responsibility, which keeps you humble and it keeps you protected. That's also a way of reclaiming power. So, perspective. Don't let your ego get too bruised by it. Yeah, that's what it is. So I'm excited for that. It's a little bit more, like I said, it's like a minor thing that's happening, but it's also important. On December 29th, Venus enters a critical degree in Scorpio, and then it enters Sagittarius later that day. So we have Venus transiting into Sagittarius at the end of December. Venus in Scorpio is going to be very secret fulfilled, could be more intimate, could be more sexual. Really, it depends on who you are, where those placements are in your chart, and what's going on in your life. Scorpio does rule over the reproductive system, and with Venus in Scorpio, Venus is about receiving. So there could be some of that going on. When it comes to Scorpio, it also rules over the secrets and the taboo. It's the intimacies that you don't really share with anyone. So this is with all of it's an interesting season, because if you're looking back on everything that I've kind of gone over, the existentialism, we have all of these very serious things happening with Capricorn and the Mercury retrograde, and there's a lot of purpose consideration. There's all these really serious things happening, and at the same time, Venus is in Scorpio, and so there's a lot of this who's gonna betray me? That kind of question happening in the background, because there's going to, every time that we're sharing something with someone, there's going to be a level of intimacy because of that Venus in Scorpio. And so with that level of intimacy, it's what layers are you willing to give up? What layers are you willing to reveal to people? And don't let yourself reveal too much. This is definitely a season of, if you are not ready to talk about it, just keep your mouth shut. If you're not ready to, there's another placement of it sitting in that. So, again, if you're not ready to share different parts of yourself with other people, don't do it. This is not the season for it. This is the season where things, if you do share, if you do overshare, not just share, if you overshare, if you overshare in this season and you are not prepared to do so, it will come back and bite you. So just, keep your wits about you and stay reserved when you need to. There's going to be time probably in the coming next year. Again, I haven't looked at this transit yet because this energy is so dense, but there is probably going to be time in the coming year where we're actually able to open up and be more vulnerable without having to worry about if what we say and what we share is going to come back to get us. So also, if you look at the bigger picture of things with the new moon in Libra and being in the middle of these eclipses, where the eclipses happened and now we're headed into the next eclipse season, so we're in kind of the middle of it. Being birthed into a new life is birth is think about things that have just been born, a little seedling, a little baby, that's a lot of innocence to us. It needs to be protected. So if you need to protect yourself, you have every right to do so, that's what it is. So Venus entering Sagittarius is going to walk us into a season of, why are we receiving what we're receiving? Why are we receiving what we're receiving? Yeah, sure, we're receiving it, but why are we receiving it? Especially being in Capricorn season, we are really sitting with being in Capricorn season is the season of material and receiving the material things, working on the material things. So why are we receiving the material that we're receiving? And if you've really been doing the work, then maybe your why is oh, you deserve it. You've earned it. Good for you. If you're receiving some things that are not so good, then it's going to ask you to sit with why are you receiving it? How can you rearrange things so that people are not making those claims on you or giving those things to you? And so Venus in Sagittarius is going to ask you to not let people take shots at you if you don't want them to. Sometimes it can be a pleasurable thing to have somebody play a game. Sometimes it's fun to be in that kind of trickster energy. Sometimes not so much though. So Venus entering Sagittarius is going to be kind of a season of discernment and also learnment. We love that. I love that. Let me not speak for you. I love that. It'll be a season of learnment, of learning to discern who you want to receive from, why you want to receive from them, and that I feel good about that, especially after all of that existentialism that we're having. with these placements that are coming through in Capricorn. I feel like the purpose, the consideration of purpose, it's going to be like, yes, it's still serious, but it's also going to be a little bit lighter and not so dense. So you'll be able, like, it's like you built the skills to be able to see through it, and then you're able to see through it, kind of thing. It's not like a test and a trial. It's just like application. That's Venus and Sagittarius after all of these other lessons that we're going through with Capricorn. Just application. Be applicatory with the lessons that you learn. That's what Saturn really asks of you, and Saturn rules Capricorn. So to wrap it up, so December 30th, we have Jupiter goes direct in Taurus. This Jupiter retrograde started the day after Venus went retrograde, and I am so excited. I'm so ready for Jupiter to go direct, because we have had so much time to further inspect on the different opportunities that we may have missed, on the different things that we want to do. Also, while Jupiter has been retrograde, we've had Saturn go direct. So we have this energy of like, not only are we still in this reconsideration period of different opportunities and different expansions, but we've been in the work for a minute with Saturn having gone direct at the beginning of November. So we've been in the work. We've been keeping order. Well, I know I have been. Let me not speak for you. I've been in the work and I've been keeping order, and I hope that you have been too, because when you keep the work and you stay in that order, then things are going well. Also, I would like to point out that being in Capricorn season, like when we enter Capricorn season, Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. Saturn right now is in Pisces. So this may be a very intuitive season when it comes to the material things. Like if there is like an opportunity that you want to walk into, you just intuitively know what you need to do to get there. It's going to be a very intuitive Capricorn season, which I am very excited for. Honestly, it's going to be a very spiritual Capricorn season, which, that's how I love that. I love that for me. I love that for you. I hope you love it for you, because I think it's going to be really good. And that's another reason too that there's the layers of the existentialism, is because with the Capricorn seriousness that's going on, there is that layer that Saturn is ruled by Pisces right now. And so we have more of like the in-between considerations and the spiritualness and the psychic gifts that are happening with that, like the undercurrents and the undertones of all of the very serious things I have. So it's gonna be an interesting Capricorn season. So that's December. That's all of December. Then we have Mercury go direct on January 1st. Shout out to that. And so the beginning of 2024, with all of this dense stuff that's happening at the end of December, the beginning of 2024 it's going to be so good. It's going to be really easy. It's going to be really easy. The final couple of weeks are probably going to be so intense for everyone. I'm just, a heads up. It's probably going to be so intense. There's so much existentialism. There's so many questions of purpose. There's so many moments of like discernment of like, if you've got to keep your mouth shut, do it, for so many different reasons. Also, because there's so many different like interweavings of these placements that are happening. And also how it affects you personally is going to be different than how it affects somebody else. So just, have a level of really keeping up on your P's and Q's and dotting your I's and crossing your T's. And if you need to sit and breathe and close your eyes so that you do not risk your composure in a situation, and not just your composure, but like your position, because that's another thing about Sagittarius. It's a lot about positioning, where you're at and where you're going. And then the Capricorn energy is like, all right, well, where you're at, where you're going, like, let's get the work done. And so don't risk your position by speaking things too soon. Don't risk your position don't risk it for the biscuit. Let the biscuit come to you. That is true. That's what this season, the end of December, is really asking of you. Granted, do what you need to do, because what happens with Capricorn energy, we have all of these Capricorn things happening. What happens with Capricorn energy is like the more that you do and the more consistent you are and the more in the pattern you are, the more gravity that you create for yourself, which means the more things that are attracted to you. Shout out. So be in that energy and don't chase the bag. Let it be delivered to your front door. Easy. Easy in the sense of receiving. Put the work in, do what you need to do. And we're going to make it through. I have a good feeling about, like, I know for me personally, I've been in the stay consistent energy. I took a day off yesterday for the first time in a while, and that felt really good. I felt kind of strange. I was like, wow, I haven't done this. And actually, like, maybe I did need this. Maybe I did need the rest. And so that felt good. It was like a season change for me. It was a little different. But I know that I, generally speaking, have been very consistent, and I've been very diligent, been very kind of militant with it. Especially with my Saturn placements and like the way that Saturn rules over my chart. And there's been so many readings I've been doing recently where people's charts are super, super Saturn ruled. So I feel like that's a reminder to me, and I'm going to put it here, a reminder to you as well, that you stay consistent, you stay persistent, good things come to you. It can be so easy. It can be so easy. So I hope that it is easy for you. I know I'm entering an era of ease, a space of ease, and I hope you are too, because if you have been putting the work in to receive that, then you deserve it. Then you deserve it. So that's the podcast for today. I have sessions available for booking on my website. My website is vordr.art. You can always reach out to me via email, on my website, on social media. My DMs on TikTok are open. I don't always reply, but if it's something that I feel like needs communication, then I will reply to it. So that is that. Is there any other updates? Yes. If you would like to support this podcast, it is reader supported. So if you would like to support this podcast, there's also the opportunity to do that at the bottom of my website. Again, vordr.art. It's a monthly, how do I say? A monthly subscription. Yeah, a monthly subscription. There's also a place at the bottom of my website to leave a donation if you would like to leave a donation just for the one podcast or just for like a lesson that you received. And if you don't leave a donation or anything like that, you don't send me any money, you still spend your time with me. And you know what? I'm grateful for that, because without you being here, I would not be able to live my life how I do and like receive things how I receive them. And I'm so very grateful for you just being here, listening to me, spending your time with me. It's something that is so, like, I cherish it. I cherish it. I cherish you. It makes me so happy. Like, life is wild like that. Oh, so I send my love to you. I'm grateful for you. May you have gratitude in your day. And may you have love come to you when you need it. That's true. Thanks for sitting with me, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, loves.